Story 1. The night before the challenge, Ken and I were crammed into my small apartment, the desk lamp casting an intimate glow over our topographic maps and empty chip bags. "Are you sure about this, Ben?" Ken asked, his voice a mix of excitement and skepticism. "Running 20 kilometers at 3 a.m. through a forbidden forest? Sounds like a B-grade horror movie script." I chuckled, clapping him on the back. "That's the fun part. It's the Haunted Dawn challenge, gotta have some thrill. Besides, who's even awake to watch us anyway?" We'd signed up for this online challenge weeks ago, an endurance run that required participants to record their entire journey with a head-mounted camera and live-stream it to an anonymous audience. The prize was a hefty sum, but more importantly, bragging rights. Ken still hesitated. "But that forbidden forest part. There are rumors about disappearances there, you know. Just urban legends, man. Have you forgotten who we are? We've survived countless all-nighters fueled by black coffee. We're not scared of some silly rumors." I winked, trying to reassure him. "Plus, we've got head-mounted cameras, super bright flashlights, GPS. We'll be fine." Finally, Ken nodded. We double-checked our gear one last time: fully charged headlamps, securely mounted GoPro action cameras, power banks, water, energy bars. The clock ticked past 2:30 a.m. We started at the edge of the forest, where the trail began. The frigid air of late autumn bit through our running gear, carrying the damp, earthy smell of decaying leaves. Even the usual nocturnal insect sounds seemed to have fallen silent, creating an unsettling stillness. All we could hear were our footsteps and the soft clink of our backpack straps. "Why is it so quiet?" Ken whispered, his voice tense. "Usually, you'd hear crickets at this hour." "Maybe it's the cold," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. Even so, I felt something was off. The beams from our headlamps cut through the darkness ahead, but the light was only enough to illuminate the nearest trees, turning the rest of the forest into a thick, mysterious wall of shadow. I had the distinct feeling that the trees were watching our every step. We'd been running for about an hour, sweat beginning to soak our shirts. The trail grew narrower and more difficult, tree roots intertwining like giant snakes. Suddenly, Ken stopped dead. "Do you hear that?" he asked, eyes wide. I held my breath, listening. At first, only our ragged breathing. Then a faint sound reached my ears: footsteps. Not ours. They were more rhythmic, heavier, like someone dragging their feet. "Must be an animal," I said, though deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Those footsteps were too deliberate. Not animal footsteps. Sounds more like boots. Ken gripped my arm tightly. "We're not the only ones out here." We decided to speed up. The footsteps behind us quickened too, always maintaining a certain distance. Neither of us dared to look back. My heart pounded in my chest. Cold sweat beaded on my skin. I could feel dread crawling up my spine. A while later, the footsteps behind us abruptly vanished. We breathed a sigh of relief, but the returning silence was even more terrifying than the noise. It felt like at any moment, something could leap out from the shadows. We kept running, trying to ignore the images that flickered in our peripheral vision: a dark shadow flitting between trees, a flickering red light like a pair of eyes staring. Ken, alarmed, pointed to a large, ancient tree. "Look!" On the trunk, a strange symbol was carved deep into the bark, looking like a primitive, scrawled, yet menacing drawing. It was a circle with 3 horizontal lines inside, and above it, a wide-open eye, staring straight at us. My heart felt like it would burst from my chest. "Run!" I yelled, abandoning all thoughts of the finish line or the prize. We ran like mad, no longer paying attention to the path or the tangled roots. We just sprinted through the darkness, knowing only that we had to get out of this place as fast as possible. When the first light of dawn broke through the tree canopy, we were at the edge of the forest. Gasping for breath, drenched in sweat and mud, but we had made it out. Ken's face was ashen, and I felt an overwhelming sense of relief. Back home, we reviewed the video from the head-mounted camera. Both of us wanted to know what exactly had been following us, and if we had just imagined things out of fear. We fast-forwarded through the initial segments until we reached the part with the footsteps. Just as we remembered, the heavy, rhythmic footsteps clearly echoed in the video. Then came the shot of the ancient tree with the strange symbol. But what made our skin crawl was the segment after that. As we ran past the tree, the camera continued recording. For a brief moment, a tall, gaunt shadow, with glowing red eyes, flitted behind us. It only appeared for a few frames, but it was enough to make us freeze. It wasn't an illusion. It was real. And then, as we scrolled to the very end of the video, just before the first light of dawn, the camera captured something else. High up on a tree trunk, a message was hastily carved, only clearly visible thanks to the light from our camera, as if it only appeared when artificial light shone upon it: "Congratulations, winner." We looked at each other, speechless. No prize money, no bragging rights. Just an overwhelming fear and an haunting question: who created this challenge, and why? And what was that dark shadow with red eyes? From that day on, I never dared to venture into that forbidden forest again. And every time night falls, I remember the heavy footsteps behind me, and the glowing red eyes in the darkness. Story 2. It was 5 years ago on the Appalachian Trail, right outside Shenandoah National Park in Virginia. My best friend, Mike, and I were training for a half marathon. We'd run that stretch dozens of times, rocky paths winding through dense woods, the Shenandoah River murmuring below. But that day, I pushed too hard. Mike tripped on a root, tumbled down a steep embankment, and hit his head on a jagged rock. By the time rescuers got there, he was gone. I blamed myself every damn day. If I'd slowed down, if I'd checked on him sooner. I turned 40 last month, and the guilt was eating me alive. Nightmares of Mike's face, pale and accusing, woke me in cold sweats. Therapy didn't help, booze made it worse. So I decided to face it head on. Run the trail again, alone, at dusk, just like that fateful evening. Maybe it'd bring closure, or at least exhaust the demons. I parked at the trailhead off Skyline Drive, laced up my old Nikes, and started jogging as the sun dipped low, turning the leaves blood orange. The air was crisp, pine-scented, familiar. My breaths came steady at first, feet pounding the dirt like old times. But about a mile in, I heard it, a faint echo of footsteps behind me. Not mine. Heavier, like Mike's size 12 boots. I glanced back, saw nothing but shadows stretching from the oaks. Wind playing tricks, I muttered, picking up pace. The river's rush grew louder, masking sounds, but the footsteps kept up, syncing with mine then falling out of rhythm, like someone struggling to catch up. Sweat stung my eyes. Memories flooded in, Mike laughing about his bad knee, us racing to the overlook. Then the footsteps turned to a whisper. "Tom, wait up." My name. Mike's voice, raspy from that pack-a-day habit he'd quit too late. I froze, heart slamming. "Mike?" No answer. Just the wind rustling ferns. I shook it off, guilt-induced hallucination, right? Kept running, faster now, legs burning. Deeper in, the trail narrowed, roots snaking like veins. The whispers grew. "Why'd you leave me, Tom?" It hurt. I spun around, nothing. But in the corner of my eye, a shape flickered between trees. Tall, lanky, like Mike in his faded hoodie. I bolted, breath ragged, phone's GPS glitching like the signal had died. The path felt wrong, longer, twisting in ways it never had. Branches clawed at my arms, drawing blood. "This isn't real," I gasped, but the voice echoed clearer. "Run with me now. Forever." Panic hit full throttle. I veered off trail, crashing through underbrush toward the riverbank where Mike fell. That's when time bent, flashes of that day replayed like a bad film, Mike slipping, his scream cut short. But in this version, I saw him stand up at the bottom, eyes locked on me, grinning through blood. "Your turn, buddy." I tripped, rolled down the same embankment, rocks battering my ribs. Hit bottom hard, world spinning. When I came to, it was pitch black. No pain, just cold numbness. I fumbled for my phone, dead. Climbed back up, but the trail was gone. Just endless woods. I wandered for hours, calling out, until faint lights appeared, a search party. They found me miles off course, dehydrated, babbling about Mike. But here's the twist that still chills me: they pulled Mike's body from that spot 5 years ago, sure. But the autopsy? Blunt trauma, yeah, but also claw marks on his back. Like from a black bear, common in Shenandoah. Rangers said one had been spotted that week, aggressive from hunger. Me? I got away with scratches. But every run since, even on city streets, I hear those footsteps. And sometimes, in the mirror, I see Mike's grin on my own face. Was it guilt? Or did something out there, real, hungry, use my memories to lure me in? I don't run alone anymore. And neither should you. It started in Front Royal, Virginia, a quiet town nestled at the northern edge of Shenandoah National Park. You know the type, folks wave from their porches, the diner on Main Street serves bottomless coffee, and everyone's got a story about spotting deer on their morning commute. I've called it home for 45 years, working as a mechanic by day and hitting the trails by night to clear my head. Running's my escape, those winding paths along the Shenandoah River, the crunch of leaves underfoot, the burn in my lungs. But there's one rule here that nobody breaks: every night at 11:38 p.m. sharp, the town locks down. Doors bolted, windows shut tight, no one steps foot outside for exactly 12 minutes. We don't talk about it much, but we all know why. Or at least, we pretend we do. Growing up, I thought it was just some old superstition, like not walking under ladders. My old man would hustle me inside, muttering about the dark hours. But one night when I was 12, I snuck out for a quick jog around the block, rebellious kid stuff. The streets were dead silent, not even crickets chirping. Then I heard it, heavy breathing, like a big dog panting, followed by the snap of twigs. I froze near the park entrance, and there it was, a massive shadow lumbering between the trees. A black bear, bigger than any I'd seen in photos, its eyes catching the moonlight. It didn't charge, just stared, sniffing the air. I backed away slow, heart pounding, and made it home just as the clock hit 11:50. Never told a soul, but that image stuck with me. Shenandoah's full of them, over 2,000 black bears in Virginia alone, according to the wildlife folks. Mostly shy, but some get bold. Years passed, and I stuck to my routine, evening runs on the Appalachian Trail sections just outside town, always wrapping up before 11:30. The lockdown? We chalked it up to precaution. Disappearances happened, hikers gone missing, blamed on falls or getting lost, but locals knew better. Those who ignored the curfew? Their families got quiet condolences from the sheriff, no real investigation. Should have known better, they'd say. My parents drilled it into me, it's safer for everyone if we stay put. I figured it was about keeping the bears contained, maybe a problem animal that roamed predictable paths at night. Black bears are crepuscular mostly, active at dusk and dawn, but in these parts, they've adapted, drawn to trash, campsites, even following scents into town. Last month, though, I pushed my luck. I'd had a rough day at the shop, transmission job gone south, and needed a long run to shake it off. Started late, looping the river trail, headphones in, zoning out. Lost track of time. My watch buzzed at 11:36, 2 minutes to lockdown. I was a mile out, sweat-soaked, when I heard rustling behind me. Not wind. Footsteps, heavy, deliberate, padding through the underbrush. I picked up speed, glancing back. Nothing at first, just shadows. Then the growl, low, guttural, vibrating through the trees. Adrenaline hit like a freight train. I sprinted, legs pumping, trail roots tripping me up. The breathing got closer, hot and ragged. I risked a look, there it was, a black bear charging, maybe 300 pounds, fur matted, eyes locked on me like I was dinner. In Shenandoah, they've had incidents, bears bluff charging hikers, killing dogs, even clawing at tents for food. This one wasn't bluffing. I veered off trail, crashing through ferns toward the riverbank, screaming for help that wouldn't come. The bear swiped, missing by inches, felt the whoosh of air on my back. Ducked behind a boulder, lungs on fire, and waited. Heard it sniff around, then, screams. Not mine. Echoing from the woods, sharp, terrified, cut short. Someone else out there, maybe a late-night walker ignoring the rule. The silence after? Worse than the noise. I stayed huddled till 11:50, then bolted home, scratches burning, convinced I'd barely escaped. That night broke me. Asked my folks again why we didn't just leave. It wouldn't help, Dad said. We keep it here, for everyone's sake. Didn't make sense then. But I couldn't stay. Packed up, moved to D.C., bustling streets, no trails, but Rock Creek Park nearby for runs. Felt safe in my 5th-floor apartment, away from the wilderness. First night there, I laced up for a jog to celebrate. Hit the park paths around 11 o'clock, city lights flickering through trees. Felt good, free. But at 11:38, the vibe shifted. Trails emptied fast, unnatural quiet settling in. Then the rustle. Twigs snapping. I stopped, ears straining. Growl, same as before. Impossible, right? But black bears wander into urban areas sometimes. Wildlife reports say they've been spotted in Rock Creek, drawn by garbage or expanding territory. This one emerged from the shadows, huge, familiar scars on its muzzle. It charged. I ran like hell, faster than ever, dodging roots, heart exploding. Made it to a lit street just as the clock ticked 11:50. Looked back, gone. That's when it hit me, Front Royal wasn't just enduring. They were containing. Feeding scraps at set times, maybe, to keep the bears local, prevent them from roaming into bigger populations. Rangers know about aggressive ones in Shenandoah, harassing campers, losing fear of humans. My leaving? I must have drawn one out, sent on my gear or something. Now it's here, in a city of millions. If you're reading this and you're a runner like me, stick to daylight. And if you hear that growl after dark, don't stop. Just run.